This is your daily dose of all things royal. In the summer of 2021, the President of the United States stood at a White House podium and accused 12 American citizens of murder.
One, I had just read that on the Facebook pointed out that Facebook, of all the misinformation, 60% of the misinformation came from 12 individuals. That's what the article said. So I was asked that question about what do I think is happening. Facebook isn't killing people. These 12 people are out there giving misinformation. Anyone listening to it is getting hurt by it. It's killing people. It's bad information.
They were branded the Disinformation Dozen.
There's about 12 people who are producing 65% of anti-vaccine misinformation on social media platforms.
The Disinformation Dozen.
The Disinformation Dozen.
Picturing these 12 people out there pumping out lies.
The media crucified them. Big tech banned them. We were told these 12 people were responsible for almost 2/3 of all vaccine misinformation online. But there was a massive problem. The data was a lie. Facebook's own internal analysis later admitted the statistics were exaggerated by a factor of at least 1,300.
If you go back to the COVID example, I think in that case, they were doing something, their goal of trying to get everyone to get vaccinated was actually, I think, a good goal. Right, it's like
it was a good goal if it worked, if it was real, if it was a sterilizing vaccine, if it really did prevent people from getting COVID, if it really did prevent people from infecting others or transmitting it, but it didn't. So it wasn't a good deal because it wasn't based on real data.
Yeah, but also even if it were, right, it's like if I think that still on balance, knowing everything that we know now, I still think it's good for more people to get the vaccine, but the government still needs to play by the rules in terms of, not like you can't just suppress true things in order to make your case. So I that's kind of my view on it is I'm not sure in that case how much of it was like a personal political gain that they were going for. I think that they had a kind of goal that they thought was in the interests of the country, and the way they went about it, I think, violated the law.
Well, there's a bunch of problems with that, right? There's the emergency use authorization that they needed in order to get this pushed through, and you can't have that without valid therapeutics being available. And so they suppressed valid therapeutics. So they're suppressing real information that would lead to people being healthy and successful in defeating this disease. And they did that so that they could have this one solution. And this was Fauci's game plan. I mean, this is the movie American Buyers Club, or Dallas Buyers Club, rather. That's Fauci in that movie. That was with the AIDS crisis. This is the exact same game plan that was played out with the COVID vaccine. They pushed one solution, this only one, suppressed all therapeutics through propaganda, through suppressing monoclonal antibodies, like all of it. And that was done, in my opinion, for profit. And they did that because it was extremely profitable. The amount of money that was made was extraordinary during that time.
Yet the damage was done. American citizens were wiped from the digital public square. So who built the hit list? It wasn't the U.S. government. It wasn't the CDC. It was a shadowy British organization called the Center for Countering Digital Hate, otherwise known as the CCDH. And the man who co-founded it is now the most powerful unelected official in Britain, Morgan McSweeney. On Tuesday, April 28th, 2026, he is being dragged before the UK Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee under oath. The surface issue is his push to appoint Jeffrey Epstein's closest confidant as UK ambassador to the United States. But the real story that we have here is darker. Dark money, foreign election interference, and a royal enforcer who helped weaponize the entire machine from the very beginning, with the monarchy itself now caught in the crosshairs. This is the story of how a British political operative, backed by a UK prince, tried to rewrite the First Amendment from across the Atlantic. To understand how a British operative triggered a censorship wave inside America, you gotta follow the money. Morgan McSweeney co-founded CCDH in 2018 with Imran Ahmed.
Yeah, well, every empirical study that's ever been done shows that it works. Whether it's whether it's the U.S. government studying the deplatforming of ISIS or CCDH's own research, sometimes we have to do this research to go and check as to whether or not we're having an effect. And so we accidentally we put out a report on who's the guy from Liverpool, David Icke.
Yeah.
4 years ago, just sort of laying out what he says, and how he was monetizing it. And the next day, Facebook and a few of the platforms banned him, and we looked at his reach, and his reach collapsed catastrophically. And there's no way of them replicating it.
And it wasn't a think tank. It was literally an attack dog. It didn't debate ideas. It demanded deplatforming, demonetization, and financial ruin. The funding behind it? Well, near total secrecy. But investigative reporting cracked it open. At least $250,000 came from George Soros's Open Society Foundations in 2024 alone. $415,000 from the Skoll Fund, $403,000 funneled anonymously through the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, plus millions more from the Oak Foundation, Pears, Paul Hamlin, and Eseme Fairbairn. CCDH reported $2.1 million in revenue, but ran with a skeleton crew that didn't match the payroll. Red flags everywhere. And they didn't stop at the disinformation dozen. Leaked 2024 internal memos obtained by Matt Taibbi and Paul Thacker at Rocket News show a standing priority, which was kill Musk's Twitter. They met with at least 16 U.S. congressional offices, pushed advertiser boycotts, and ran black ops targeting RFK Jr. during the presidential race. But CCDH had a royal enforcer amplifying every pressure campaign from day one. In 2020, right in the middle of the U.S. presidential election cycle, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle went all in on the exact same playbook.
About building an organization and building community engagement that is rooted in compassion. Can you tell me more about that and tell me more about how these conversations have been important to you with CEOs?
Well, first of all, as we said to you, the moment that we heard that you guys had started Stop Hate for Profit, we're like, come on, we've been talking to you for weeks. Like, how come you didn't even mention this? I love it. It was almost like a side project or whatever it was. We were like, guys, this is what we've been working on separately for months. This is absolutely perfect. How can we lend a hand? How can we help you guys really make this work? And yeah, you're right. We spoke to a lot of CEOs, but first of all, I'd like to say that we as a couple take absolutely no credit or responsibility for the decisions of companies. So our job was inform, and then also to be able to have an honest conversation as parents and say, listen, this is principle over profit.
They publicly backed and actively pushed the hashtag Stop Hate for Profit campaign, personally reaching out to CEOs and marketing heads, urging them to pull every dollar of ad revenue from platforms that refuse to silence hate and misinformation. They worked directly with the coalition of U.S. civil rights groups behind it, NAACP, Color of Change, ADL, and encouraged global corporations to join the boycott. At the same time, the hashtag Stop Funding Fake News pressure campaigns were hammering platforms for allowing quote-unquote fake news, which in practice meant anything challenging the mainstream narrative on the Hunter Biden laptop story or claims that the election was rigged. Harry and Meghan were on the front lines demanding institutional severance for anyone who stepped out of line. CCDH's own CEO Imran Ahmed was coordinating the UK and Europe arm of Stop Hate for Profit at the exact moment, and the timing was certainly no coincidence. This wasn't just about COVID, it was pre-election censorship in real time. Voices raising the Hunter Biden laptop were throttled. Americans questioning election integrity were labeled, flagged, and erased. The royal couple helped turn the financial screws on the very platforms CCDH was targeting. Then, at the same time, news of King Charles kicking Harry and Meghan out of Frogmore in late December 2022, the Twitter files dropped, exposing coordinated government big tech censorship that violated the First Amendment on a massive scale. We didn't know it at the time, but the entire operation needed a rebrand overnight. Prince Harry and the network around CCDH pivoted hard. The old disinformation war became the shiny new online child safety crusade. Through Archwell Fugazi Public Charity, Prince Harry launched their new positioning in October of 2023 at the New York City Mental Health Summit. Soon after, Archwell dropped their Jory Craig Insight Reports and global toolkits on helping emotional parents in their parents' network, shining a light on dead children. Partnerships pushing stricter laws and AI regulation has now been the move forward, framing the same regulatory hammer as a moral mission to protect the kids while the First Amendment heat died down. Internal whistleblower documents link Archwell directly to CCDH on a parent's guide designed to push public sentiment towards more censorship under the banner of child safety to kill Musk's Twitter. This wasn't coincidence. This was the same playbook, just rebranded with a royal smile and a fresh coat of PR and marketing paint. So where did Morgan McSweeney learn these ruthless tactics? Well, look at the man he's testifying about on Tuesday, Peter Mandelson, literally known in British politics as McSweeney's mentor. McSweeney is known as the Mini Mandelson. He trained under him, copied his operational style, and used his power as chief of staff to ram Mandelson's appointment through as UK ambassador to the United States, despite blazing red flags from UK security vetting. The final approval on that appointment came directly from King Charles himself. The connections with Andrew and the Epstein saga are chilling. A suppressed memo shows Mandelson recommending Tony Blair meet Epstein for no particular reason, because he was an interesting person. In 2009, while Epstein was incarcerated, Mandelson reportedly called him, referring to him as Petey, asking him to arrange an off-the-books meeting with JP Morgan Chase's CEO Jamie Dimon. Mandelson's non-denial? I can't recall this conversation. But now, the shadow falls squarely on the very top of the monarchy. One has to ask the question every British taxpayer and every American citizen watching this scandal unfold is thinking. What did King Charles know? Now, this is the reason why I put out the video yesterday on the monarch's relationship with British intelligence, because as monarch, King Charles receives daily top-level intelligence briefings from MI5, MI6, and the Joint Intelligence Committee. Mandelson was already under investigation for at least 5 years. Common sense says he and his late mother were briefed on Epstein, as well as they were briefed on Prince Harry's high-profile involvement with American political Democrat circles, as well as the work that Harry was doing to reshape the media landscape. After the video that I did yesterday, it's almost certain that the Queen had tabs on Meghan and Harry, particularly around the work leading up to the U.S. election and the pressure campaigns that these two had been running. The same campaign tactics seen with Labour against Jeremy Corbyn now were meddling directly in American civil rights by trying to financially coerce U.S. platforms into censoring lawful speech. Harry wasn't operating as an official royal envoy. This exercise was covert. channeled through his royal status and Archwell, personal calls to CEOs, and public advocacy that carried the weight of the royal brand. Yet the optics here are devastating for the crown. A senior royal actively working to silence American voices on everything from election integrity to Hunter Biden laptop to Meghan's stupid moon bump. That's not child online safety. That's foreign meddling in the First Amendment by a member of the British royal family. The same family still reeling from Prince Andrew's Epstein scandals. It looks incredibly bad for the monarchy, don't you see? A centuries-old institution that claims to stay above politics now appears entangled in a transatlantic censorship machine targeting U.S. citizens. Like, when you think about it, the irony here is brutal. The descendants of the king who lost the American colonies in 1776 now have a prince trying to undermine American freedoms. Harry, who fled Britain claiming he wanted privacy and truth, ends up in America pushing the very censorship and authoritarian monarchical regime we broke away from. The monarchy's apolitical facade has cracked, and the timing couldn't be worse. But now the rabbit hole goes straight into our U.S. election, specifically the 2024 election.
I've heard rumors that he's MI6, he's special ops for the UK. You have on your Substack been going very deep into this. Have you found evidence of that level of connection to the UK clandestine services?
I will say that Paul Thacker and Matt Taibbi did a great job of blowing the whistle on the attempted stolen election through Imran and his group, which included Morgan McSweeney, coming over here with 100 labor operatives, training Kamala Harris, hoping that somehow she could get the election from Trump. I'll say steal, because it was not a legal process.
Yeah.
So he's so integrated into the UK government. And the thing that Paul did mention is one of the people that blew the whistle said that they knew that he had been contacted by intelligence services. He had people, former CIA officials that were employed on CCDH, as well as other figures from the US. So, this was a Biden era symptom, right, of our country not being controlled by we the people or elected officials. This was essentially a UK-based foreign influence operation, and he was a prime architect and spokesperson, and now he's crying victim.
Did you know the Trump campaign filed a formal FEC complaint against the UK Labour Party for blatant foreign interference? Evidence, a now deleted LinkedIn post from Labour's head of operations, Sophia Patel, recruiting nearly 100 current and former staff to battleground states like North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Virginia, promising, "We will sort your housing," with an email of laborforkamala@gmail.com. At the exact same time, Morgan McSweeney, as UK Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, flew to Chicago, attended the Democratic National Convention, and met directly with the Harris campaign team. Under U.S. law, foreign nationals cannot participate in campaign decision-making, governmental capacity, personal, or using the same network that built the CCDH. Investigative reporting by Paul Thacker exposed the full CCDH labor overlap. CCDH was internally described as the anti-disinformation ally of the Labour Party. McSweeney was company secretary of Labour Together and the factional vehicle that helped Starmer seize control during a period when £849,000 in donations went unreported to the UK Electoral Commission, violating UK electoral law. And here's where the scandal detonates on a global stage. King Charles lands in America on April 27th, the day before McSweeney's hearing, for a state visit to celebrate the 250th anniversary of U.S. independence. He'll address Congress on the very day the architect of the disinformation dozen is dragged into light. The irony here is inescapable and devastating for the monarchy. The British Crown, which once ruled these colonies, now sends its king to reaffirm that special relationship, while one of its princes spent years covertly meddling in American civil rights, pressuring tech giants to suppress the very freedoms America was founded to protect. Harry's actions didn't just embarrass the family, they made the monarchy look like it's still trying to control the narrative across the Atlantic. A royal pushing censorship while the family's Epstein connections, from Andrew to Mandelson, swirl in the background? Honestly, the optics look terrible. It shatters the image of a neutral, modern crown. Common sense says the intelligence briefings landed on the king's desk. So the big question is, did he know? Did he look the other way? Either way, it looks catastrophic for the institution that claims to stand above politics. This isn't just a scandal. It's a diplomatic crisis waiting to explode. And I've been warning everybody now for years of how serious this was. This is no longer just a British scandal. It's a system-level confrontation over who controls the truth and whether foreign operators, that include royal help, can bypass the First Amendment. This hearing on Tuesday is gonna be explosive. And I'm willing to bet that the palace will have all hands on deck with the media to ensure that this sword saga does not dominate the headlines to embarrass the king while he's here in the United States. I guarantee that they will have all the media outlets talking about the US-UK relationship and the wonderful pictures of King Charles and Donald Trump. But don't worry, you can count on me, as I will be all over this story. For many of you who have been following me throughout the years, you're now starting to see how all the pieces are falling into place and painting the picture of what really Harry and Meghan are about. Part of me thinks the stupid act between Harry and Meghan and all their failures is intentional, so nobody suspects them of being involved in this shit, because it's bad. This is worse than what Andrew has done, hands down.
Should shake every single American in their shoes. I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016. We must, absolutely must, hold every one of these criminals accountable for the crimes that they committed. They are the most heinous crimes committed in American history. James Comey, John Brennan, Clapper, Rice, Biden was in the meeting in July 28th in the Oval Office. They briefed Barack Obama on Hillary Clinton's plan to, quote, tie Trump to Russia collusion lies. It consumed our national discourse for 5 years. It undermined a sitting duly elected president. It sabotaged administration. It framed a three-star general. It destroyed and ripped this country apart. We had a constitutional crisis, the likes of which I don't think any American can fully comprehend. It is atrocious, and every single one of them must be held accountable.
And the reason why no one from the media is touching this, as well as Niall Gardner from the Heritage Foundation, is that they know that this is a diplomatic fallout. That's why they're hustling to get these laws put into place so they can shut us all up. This is going to get worse for Starmer, and I would not be surprised if Starmer steps down after the king comes back from his trip. And I think if that ends up happening, it will be because of Donald Trump advising the king in their private tea to get rid of him. Obviously, we'll never know the outcome of that tea and what they talked about, but I can see Donald Trump telling King Charles, look, you need to get rid of this guy because he is totally killing the country, and the United States relationship is pretty much done if he stays in power. Don't forget all those files the Department of State has on Prince Harry. So, I think there's going to be a serious conversation, not just about Iran, but I think about other things. And it will be interesting to see what happens when King Charles comes back and Parliament resumes. One way or another, next week, we're in for some fireworks. But drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you now start to see what I've been talking about this whole entire time? Let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
It was such a fraud.